In today's video, I am very happy to present our official fall forecast for the fall of 2025. We're going to be diving into the temperatures, precipitation, and the overall forecast for the upcoming fall. Now, before we really dive into things, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, because we have our first winter forecast coming out very soon. I'm debating even doing it tomorrow or the next day. We have so many other seasonal videos as well coming up, so you're going to want to subscribe to see all of those. Now, as we just take a look at the first graphic, we can already see the above average temperatures there located out west. This is what we call a positive PNA, when this warmer air mass sets up over the western areas of not only the United States, but also Mexico and Canada, really all of North America. Now, one of the things that frequently causes a lot of fall and wintertime positive PNA patterns is going to be this warmer area of water offshore of western North America. I brought up a couple of years here as an example. This is actually as of yesterday in 2025, your top one, the biggest one. But the first one on the bottom left, which is my top analog for this year overall, is 2014. And you can see we had a very similar warm blob there. Another year that was quite similar, not too surprisingly because it was just 1 year ago, is 2024, where we had this warm feature here west of Canada, west of the United States, and south of Alaska. And of course, this year, we maybe even have the most predominant one here south of Alaska, west of the United States, and west of Canada. These oftentimes push the wind onshore to Canada, onto the United States, and that'll actually warm up the wind in the air and cause that warm pattern in the western areas of North America, which forces the cold air into the east and central states. We saw that in 2014 during the fall and winter. We saw that during the late fall of last year in 2024, as well as the winter. It was a very cold winter. People forget that because a lot of people didn't see too much snowfall, but it was an extremely cold winter. Now, you might be wondering what 2014 was like during the fall, and here's that September to November timeframe of 2014. Again, you see that warm air mass that just set up along the western seaboard there, and you can literally see where that cold air originated from and where it headed to. Straight from the Arctic Circle down into areas of Canada and a lot of the central and eastern United States, with really cold air compared to normal from September through November. So really, we expect above normal temperatures for a lot of these areas like Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, and it sort of makes its way into the Rockies is my current expectation. That's usually how these positive PNA patterns set up. There will be times, of course, this is a 3-month forecast. This is for September, October, and November. So there will, of course, be times where this area is cooler and this area is warmer. There will be times when this area is cooler and this area is cooler, and there's a little bit of warmer in the middle. But the predominant pattern is going to be this above average temperature pattern out west. We even have a second shade, which doesn't mean it's going to be warmer. This just means that we have more confidence in the above average temperatures, and that goes for all of the scales on our long range forecasts. And you can see the more immediate western areas we're a little bit more confident in. There could be a little bit less in these areas, especially if these cooldowns are really rushing down the edge of those Rocky Mountains into the central states and eventually the eastern states. Time will tell, of course. Let's take a look at the cooler than normal conditions, and you probably guessed it, it's going to be in the central and eastern states. This is only the first shade, so this is kind of where we're feeling like it's going to be cooler. We're not through the roof confident in the below average temperatures for every single spot in here, but I think overall there's going to be a lot of cooler times compared to what's typical. And we do have a second shade of this one as well, and it is going to be mostly for these kind of upper Midwest areas, the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, and some of the more interior mid-Atlantic areas. The reason why I'm more confident in this area is typically as we see the warmer air surging up the west here, we frequently get these cooldowns most potent and most frequently in these more areas closer to Canada here. Let's call it the north central states and some of the more interior northeastern areas. Looking at the precipitation, we're going to start with the above average precipitation areas, and this is mostly going to be located over the northern regions of the United States, as you can see. We are in what we call a neutral ENSO. So that's not an El Nino, it's not a La Nina, it's right in between. And you might have heard those two other terms pretty frequently, but the kind of neutral ENSO is a more rare middle ground. And these tend to be a little bit cooler fall and winters. And for the winter times, they tend to be the coolest and snowiest. But as far as it pertains to the fall, we do get kind of a hybrid of both an El Nino and a La Nina. But this one looks to lean La Nina, which leans me towards the above average precipitation in this northwestern area. And I think that we could have a lot of storms just kind of moving through, starting in the northwest and moving into the Midwest, and then likely curving northward as we get closer to the coast, especially if there's ever a ridge present. As we just add that second shade of above average precipitation, we could see a lot of the northern Rockies, northern plains, and far upper Midwest are my more confident area, in addition to these storms that are moving from the northwest into the north central states. I think that we could get some Clipper-like systems. Obviously, most of these won't include snowfall, but we do get that same storm track a lot of the time, especially when we have these frequent cooldowns coming in from Canada, which we do expect. And I think that that could lead to some additional precipitation in these areas, and that's why I'm a little bit more confident there in the above average precipitation. Let's go ahead and talk about the below average precipitation, though, and one of these areas is going to be the southwest. Again, we are leaning closer to a La Nina than an El Nino, although we are in the middle of the two. Typically in a La Nina, we get a little bit of drier conditions down here. Typically, the west coast doesn't start to see a lot of precipitation until later on in October and into November. But I do expect once that more winter-like pattern does take over, it will look more active in the northwest than the southwest. That's my current expectations. We do have this area over the southeast and Gulf states as well. And this isn't because I don't expect a lot of storms to move through there. It's because I expect below average activity in the tropics, or maybe close to normal, but maybe a little bit below normal. And this is a little bit of a bold prediction because even one tropical storm hitting anywhere in here could completely disrupt this forecast. So keep that in mind, that if you see a tropical storm hit any of these states and bring, 5 to 10 inches of rainfall with it, which has happened before, and hurricanes are possible or even worse, and those could bring even more precipitation. This is a sketchy forecast for sure, this southeast and Gulf states area when we're talking about the peak of hurricane season. But I do expect below average chance of tropical activity just because the overall tropics I expect to be a little bit slower this year. Time will tell, of course, with that, but this is definitely my least confident prediction in this entire forecast, just because one singular storm in October that I could never see coming on August 6th could completely disrupt this. Keep that in mind. Now, we do have a second shade, and it's not for this one because, again, my confidence isn't super high. It's actually for the southwest here, where we are a little bit more confident in that just because of the more La Nina leaning ENSO. Now, finally, we're going to discuss this exciting overall forecast, and we'll start with the west and move eastward. It's just a beautiful map. I love making these. They're so colorful and fun. We see in the southwest dry and warm, as we discussed earlier, all kind of based on there not being an El Nino present. Warm as well in the northwest, but wet instead of dry up there because, again, that more La Nina storm track will bring more frequent storms into there. Now, obviously, there will be some fall-time snow for some of the Cascade Mountains and some of the Rockies, especially later, obviously, as we move into October and November, but any of the time they can see snowfall. And it's going to vary where it is compared to normal. I think the more northern Rockies have a way better shot at above normal snowfall for the fall time, and obviously the southern Rockies have a much lesser chance just because of the storm track I'm expecting. But anything's possible, especially with these areas. If it's a storm coupled with cold air, just a couple big ones can really drop a lot of snow there. So that is a little bit of a sketchy forecast as well. Quite stormy just to the east of the Rockies there in some of those more northern plains. Stormy is probably the most predominant feature we're expecting. Cold later for some of the south central states. By cold, I mean colder than normal. I know some of these areas don't really get too cold until the wintertime oftentimes, but these inland areas, you'd be surprised. They can, even very far south inland areas can see pretty severe cold given the right conditions. We do see this area to the south of there that I forgot to label, but that was just going to be kind of below average chance of tropical activity. I feel like is the most predominant factor here for a lot of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. But also for these areas. But I wanted to include the frequent cold shots that I expect for the eastern seaboard even in this forecast. So that is why they're under the blue shade. Obviously, I can't get every single feature that this fall will bring in these forecasts, but I think the most predominant one is going to be those frequent cold shots. I'm kind of torn if I expected it more later on or in the beginning. And this is all compared to normal, of course. But definitely, I think that we are going to see cold time set up, and it's mostly due to the warmth out west. It's kind of inevitable. Big cold shots because of that in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and even some of the northern plains. Again, this is where they're the most potent moving in, right in from Canada, Arctic blast here. Just really intense, especially when we get a big spike of warm air out west. I expect that to be a common occurrence between September, October, and November. And some fall snow. People forget that the Northeast can see some fall time snow as well. I've seen it as early as, early October for some of these areas. And oftentimes late October into November, we start to see snowfall in the Adirondacks, the Green Mountains, the White Mountains, northern Maine, even the Catskills, and even the Berkshire sometimes we'll see some fall time snow. So I wanted to include that as well in this. Now, with all of that stuff being said, guys, that is it for this video. Of course, we're going to be uploading our first winter forecast very soon. I'm even debating doing that tomorrow or the next day. So please subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell icon for videos like that. We have so many more seasonal forecasts coming out that we do every single year. We're going to be discussing the fall foliage, your first frost, your expected snowfall, all sorts of stuff we're going to be going over the next month to 2 months. I'm so excited to do it with you guys. So be sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon, like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.